Hey, good morning. Hey, if you're new, I'm Charlie, the lead pastor here. Man, we're really glad you're with us as we're kicking off this series called All In. And you hear that, and it's primarily, most people think it's a poker metaphor about putting all your chips in. And my first experience with poker was actually, I was pretty young. When you I had one brother, he was 6 years older than me. And when you're the younger of the siblings and you've just got nothing but older siblings, you kind of grow up weird. We see that in our younger daughter. She's a 5-year-old that acts like a teenager, and it's kind of funny sometimes and sometimes not. Anyways, so my brother taught me how to play poker when I was in first grade. And I remember I was at this I call it now play date with a friend of mine in first grade, and he asked me if I wanted to play cards, and I said, sure. Do you want to play poker? And I learned two things in that moment. I learned two things that day. The first one was first graders don't know how to play poker. That's one. And the second one is you're going to get in a lot of trouble with your mom if you ask your friend to play poker with you when you're in first grade. Apparently, that is not what good Christian first graders do, is play poker with their first grade friends or even mention it. His mom told my mom, and I got in trouble. And so, I don't know how many of you were kind of caught up in this. About 10 to 12 years ago, there was a big poker craze. It was like everything that ESPN was showing, and everybody fancied themselves as just a little bit of luck away from winning millions of dollars in the World Series of Poker. And we were in St. Louis at the time, and it was everywhere. And we some friends of mine, they would invite me over to play. Some people in the church played, some guys in the neighborhood, we played, and it was a lot of fun. And then I moved to Arkansas about 11 years ago, and you can't play poker with the pastor in Arkansas. So I haven't played poker in 11 years because no one will invite me to their poker games anymore, which is fine. It's fine. But the metaphor of being all in is in poker, you've got everything that you have. All the chips that you have, all the money that you've earned, everything I have, it's right here. And I'm going to take it, and I'm going to bet all of it. Everything that I have, I push it into the middle of the table, and now everything that I have in this game is now at risk. And now one of two things is going to happen. I'm going to lose everything and be done, or I am likely going to double or perhaps even triple or more the amount of chips that I have. But there is a very risky moment. It's a risky moment where you say, I'm going to take everything. I'm going to take everything that I have, and I'm going to put it at risk in the hopes, rather than being done, that what I'm going to get in return is even more. In Luke chapter 9, I encourage you to go ahead and turn there, Jesus uses actually a similar metaphor about what it means. And so what is it about what this means in our walk with God? And so this metaphor, this poker metaphor of being all in, it makes sense in a poker context. What does it really mean in a spiritual context? What are we saying? And here's the thing that I want us to have kind of in our mind as we're not just talking about this today, not as we're just talking about this in our small groups over the next few weeks or on Sundays over the next few weeks. Here's the thing I want you to have in your head this whole time. I think that a lot of us have this mentality about what it means to be a Christian, a follower of Jesus, religious, spiritual, choose your term, that basically I'm going to live my life. I'm going to live my life, and this is what I'm going to do with my life. This is who I'm going to be. This is what I'm going to do. This is what I value. And I'm going to bring God in to help me. And God's going to help me be and do better as I live my life. What Jesus talks about, when he talks about beginning to end all throughout the Gospels, when he talks about what it means to be a follower of him, what he's talking about is something very different than that. He's talking about something very different than having God alongside you to help you through your journey. He's talking about something that is a lot more equivalent to putting all of your chips in the middle of the table, that he is wanting us and asking us to be all in. So in Luke chapter 9, starting in verse 23, Jesus says this, Then he said to them all, Whoever wants to be my disciple must deny themselves and take up their cross daily and follow me. Whoever wants to save their life will lose it, but whoever loses their life for me will save it. What good is it for someone to gain the whole world and yet lose or forfeit their very self? So the thing that he's saying here is not saying, hey man, if you'll follow me, I'm gonna help. I'm gonna help you. I'm gonna make your life better. I'm gonna make it easier. I'm going to improve your life. That's not what he's saying. What he's saying is, in order for you to follow me, you're going to have to sacrifice everything. You're going to have to deny yourself. You're going to have to take up your cross, whatever that means, and then you can follow me. And then it's like, because there's kind of two kinds of people out there. There's the kind of people who are trying to hold on to everything. They're trying to save everything about their life. And those kinds of people who just are holding on to what they have, they lose their life. But there's also people out there who are choosing to lose their life for me, and they end up saving it. Because there's people out there, man, they're trying to gain the whole world. They think that I can have it all. I can have everything. I can gain the whole world. But what good is that if ultimately what happens to you is that you lose your own life, your own self? And so this picture that Jesus is putting out there is one that, in order to follow him, requires a tremendous amount of sacrifice. And that he's not talking about Jesus following you and helping you in what you do. He's talking about you giving up everything in order to follow him. And so what he's saying is, what you need to do, and in our poker metaphor, in order to follow me, you're going to have to put all of your chips, everything that you have, everything that you are, everything that you value, everything you identify about yourself, your goals, your hopes, your dreams, everything about you. You need to put that in there. You need to give that to me. Then follow me. And that's different. That's different than an invitation to be religious. That's different than an invitation to have a spiritual life. That's different than going to church. Jesus is asking for something at a deeper level than I think that many of us have ever really thought through. So again, we're going to kind of kick this off today, and we're going to spend some time reading a book and talking about it in small groups and a series over the next several weeks. But I think this is the thing that we have to have in our head. This image of really, I'm going to give everything. I'm going to sacrifice everything. I'm going to take everything I have, I'm going to give it away in order to follow Jesus. Man, is that what I'm doing? And if it's not, is it what I want? And so Jesus, he's saying something here. It's very difficult. It's the kind of thing that when you say it, you lose a lot of followers. People don't want that. But I think that what he has to say, on the one hand, seems very shocking and very hard and very difficult to put our minds around. But honestly, I think that if we take another look at it, it's the kind of thing that I think that opens up a new possibility for us to have a deeper and greater, not just spiritual life, but life in general. And so let's kind of break this thing down into two parts of what Jesus is saying. And the first thing that he's saying here is that following Christ means losing everything. It means losing everything. How does he say it? You need to deny yourself. You need to deny yourself. The thing that you think that you want, don't want that. The thing that you're trying to pursue, don't pursue that. The thing that you think that you are and you want to be, not that. You need to deny your instincts about you and life and me. They're wrong. They're wrong. Don't do those things. You following you has gotten you where you are. Right? That's really, no. It's not very profound on the one hand, but on the other hand it is. You need to stop. You need to stop. And you need to give all of that, all of it? All of it. What about, no, all of it. And you think, man, that's extreme. It's extreme. But honestly, it's really, conceptually, this is a lot more common than we probably realize. Because all over the world, every day, there are people out there telling people where the key to life is found. If you will just go all in with this dream, and you will become the best businessman you can be, you become the best athlete you can be, you become the greatest actor, entertainer, musician, whatever thing it is, if you will only dedicate your life to this, then what you'll have in the end is great, is going to be great. If you want to be an incredible musician, you're going to have to change everything about your life. Everything about all of your free time, all of your focus, all of your energy, the way that you perceive yourself, what do? You're going to have to do that. Like, I want to become a billionaire. That's the key. Money's the key, right? Money and power. So if I have money and power, I'm going to have to dedicate myself. I'm going to have to stop being lazy. I'm going to have to give up useless hobbies. I'm going to have to work more and family less. I'm going to have to do all of these things because I know that once I have the money and the power, that's where life will be. Everything out there that people are pursuing where they believe that that is going to be the key, it requires you to give it all up. On a different scale, this is kind of a thing that I have struggled with. If you've been around for the 7 years that I've been here, you have seen me and my weight fluctuate plus or minus 50 pounds all throughout the years. Sometimes I'm doing well and I'm losing weight, I'm doing good and exercise, sometimes I'm not. And the moments in which I'm thinking, okay, dude, it's time to get back. What are you doing? So it's not like I just all you have to do, buddy, to lose weight is just kind of just do this one thing. And we try that. We try it, right? If you'll just only eat bacon, right? Just eat bacon, right? That's all you have to do. It's just one thing. It's not one thing. I have to completely, radically change everything that I view about what I do and who I am. You can no longer eat these things. You can no longer drink these things. You have to start exercising. You have to start exercising like this. You have to be disciplined all throughout the day. It's not like if I can be disciplined for 1 hour a day, I'll be fine. All of the hours of the day, all of the hours of every day, I have to have a completely different focus and mentality in my life if this is what I want. This is what I'm going to pursue. I have to die. The me has to die. Cheetos and Coke has to die, right? That has to die. You don't come along and help Cheetos and Coke guy. Cheetos and Coke guy's got to die, right? So when we pursue something and we believe that that's where the life is, I mean, you're going to have to give it up. Old you is going to have to die. And so if we are going to really be followers of Jesus Christ, you're going to have to die. And he says it this way. He says, you're going to have to take up your cross daily. Now, we hear that, and we hear Jesus say it, and we hear Jesus talk about cross, and we immediately think of Jesus dying on the cross. Jesus died on the cross. So that's what it's talking about. What does it mean? Jesus had not died on the cross yet, and no one in this that he was talking to was even thinking along those lines. What they heard when he said, take up your cross daily, was simply that was the primary method of execution and persecution used by the Roman occupation on the Jewish people. So take up your own personal device of execution every day. You need to will it, because that's what you would do. You would have to carry one of the beams of the cross. You would have to carry it yourself, carrying the own means of your death. They're about to kill me, and I have to carry it some distance in order to do it. And Jesus is saying, that thing that you see people do when they're unjustly murdered, you do that every day. I cannot imagine what it would have been like. Like, dude, I don't know what you're talking about. It would have been so distracting. All you have to do, sharpen your guillotine blade every day and follow me. Charge up your electric chair every day and follow me. I'm like, dude, what? This is what he's saying. And it's so shocking on its face. It would have been to the people who heard it. And I'm not here to say that, well, here's what Jesus meant to say. Please, don't ever, ever, ever hear me saying that. That is not what I'm saying. I am not trying to soften Jesus or say what Jesus meant to say. But what he is saying is that you, what you perceive of you, your desires, what you want, what you think life is, then that has to die. And you're going to have to make that decision every day. Because every day you're going to wake up and it's going to be a new day, and you're thinking, today's a great day for me to take back over. Today's the day that I'm just going to do what I want to do. And he's saying every day you're going to have to discipline yourself to say that I'm going to die. Not change, not mold, not adjust, not adapt, not flex. Die. You need to die, and then you can follow me. I remember, man, I remember the first time that I really heard this. Maybe we talked about this passage or something like it in church growing up, but I don't remember it. I grew up in church. Man, we're at church all the time, and I was a good church person for what church person meant in my church. I was there all the time. And I believed all the things that they said. This is who God is. I believed it. This is who Jesus is. I believed it. This is why Jesus died on the cross and what it means for you. And sin is, yes, and I believed all of it. So I believed everything, and I was going to church, and I'm like, I'm just trying to figure out as a preteen and then as a teenager, man, what does it mean? What does it mean for me? What does it mean for me to follow God, to follow Jesus in this way? And they say things and you observe things, and then eventually you kind of figure it out. Here's the thing that I knew. I knew, first of all, Jesus has a lot of meetings. And Jesus wants me to come to all of them. Come to all of the meetings. And we're meeting all the time. And you come to all the meetings. Come to all the meetings. Got it. Come to all the meetings. And there's just a certain number of things that are really bad and you can't do them. You cannot have sex before you are married. And you cannot drink alcohol. And you cannot smoke. That's what you can't, unless you're a deacon and you found that one pit where you can kind of hide there and no one will see it. It's where we used to go to avoid meetings, and it's where a couple of guys went to smoke, and we kind of had this arrangement. I'm not going to tell your wife you're smoking. You don't tell my mom I missed the meeting, and then we'll be good. We're just like, we're bros, right? So come to all the meetings. Don't drink. Don't have sex. And you're good. And that's what I did. There's a lot of flexibility in all of that. There's a lot of things that you can pursue. You're not really having to sacrifice a whole lot. You have to come to about 7-8 meetings to give up a couple of things. Other than that, it's kind of a lot of flexibility. Just live your life. And I remember, man, it was in college. It was the spring of my freshman year. A friend of mine, Steve, he was leading the small group I was in, and he paints this different picture. And the way I remember him saying it was, man, you're wanting God to be like a sliver of your life. Like you've got your academic life, your relationships, your entertainment, all these things, and you want God to be a sliver. He's a piece of the pie. This is back when Trivial Pursuit was a thing, and people would play. You got the little pie piece, and here's one pie piece. He says, that's not what God wants. Jesus wants to take over your life. And the thing that you want out of life, all of that has to die. And you're going to let him come in. Choose your metaphor. He's going to completely redecorate. He's going to completely demolish your house and rebuild a different house. You are handing him the car. He is not your co-pilot. He's in the driver's seat and you're in the trunk. Right? It's his car now. It's not your car. I'm like, man, that's different. That's very different than what I thought I was hearing for the last 18, 19 years of my life, of what God really wanted for me. But God wants to help me, and in order for him to help me, I just need to come to his meeting and avoid the big ones. And then we'll be fine. And I'll be good, and he'll be happy with that, and I'll just live my life. That was everything that I saw. That was what I heard. And now someone is saying something very different to me. That God's wanting to take over. demolish and rebuild my life. And I'm telling you, when you really hear that for the first time, and I don't know, maybe you've heard this before. Maybe this is the first time you've really heard it. Maybe the next time. Maybe next week is the first time you're going to hear it. When you really hear it, when you really let it sink in that what Jesus is asking from you is to give it all away. Your hopes, your dreams, your values, your life, your goals. Give it all up. Take every bit of it. I'm putting it all at risk. Because these chips that I'm holding on, they're actually not my chips. This is my life, and you say you want my life is now yours. And so following Christ means I put it all in. It means I lose everything. But it doesn't end there. That's not how this passage ends. It's not how this idea ends. Because following Christ means losing everything and gaining everything in return. We gain everything in return. He says, if you lose your life for me, you will save it. You will save it. This is where life is. So I take everything that I think is life. Everything that I think is good, everything that I think that is going to bring fulfillment, everything that I think that's going to bring meaning and purpose. And I'm going to take all of it, and I'm going to say, none of that. So I get rid of my own meaning and purpose and values, and what God gives back to me is greater meaning and purpose and values. I lose my life, and I gain life. To go back to the other thing, there's lots of people out there in the world, They are sacrificing everything to pursue this one thing. I'm going to become a millionaire. I'm going to become a billionaire. I'm going to become powerful. I'm going to become successful. And once I reach this certain point in my life, then I'm going to have it, and life's going to be great. And they get it, and they're miserable. The best athletes in the world, the best musicians in the world, the richest people in the world, you don't look at them and think, man, they've got something I don't that I really, really want. Except the money. I'll take the money. I'll take the money without the life that they have. When in reality, it just goes together. What you have to do, what you have to sacrifice, it typically comes with that. And so there's people who are sacrificing everything in order to pursue this one thing, and in the end, what they find out is that was never where life was in the first place. And Jesus is saying, listen, but if you will, rather than pursue all those things and lose yourself, if you'll lose all of that and follow me, you'll gain it all back. Then you'll have something. I was talking about this with my oldest daughter. She's taking this personal finance class at the U of A this fall. And her opening assignment was, if you won the Powerball this week, which I think this one was $500 million, what would you do with it? So you kind of put all these things down. And so we're having this conversation over lunch. Dad, what would you do? I'm like, well, I said, let's talk about it. Do you think I could pastor the Grove still? Do you think people would come? Do you think I would have any credibility? Dude, what does that dude know about life, Mr. $500 million man? What are you going to happen when the offering buckets come around? Well, seriously. Hey, we're having a capital campaign. We're going to get a new building. Yeah, we are. If capital campaign, one dude, that's you. Right? Can we be friends still? Can we really be friends? Or would you always be thinking of me as a dude with the $500 million who should be paying for everything that we ever do, and why haven't you paid off my mortgage yet? You don't have an extra $200,000 just lying around. Everything about your life you would lose. Everything that you think that you want is there, and you get it, and you lose everything that matters. And the stories of that with lottery winners and athletes and entertainers and musicians and billionaires, books are filled with these examples. Your life is probably filled with people like that you know, who in an all-out pursuit for one thing, believing that is totally where life is going to be, they end up with nothing. And what Jesus is saying is like, if instead of doing that, you will just lay it all out there for me, what you will get in return is everything. So in a crowd this size, man, we've got a lot of diversity of people, a lot of backgrounds, a lot of different places as far as church experience, history with God, people who have, like me, who have been a part of churches or following God for 40 plus years, to people who just happened upon us today and don't really have a great long history of a spiritual background at all. But today we're just going to talk about really just two different categories of people that need to think and process this message. And this month and the series that we're doing, we're kind of two different ways. And one is for the person who was never really chosen in the first place to follow Jesus at all. And you came here today, and you came here to church, you've been coming here for the last couple of months or the last year or so with this idea that I need to be a little bit more religious. Well, not religious, spiritual. I need spiritual. My kids need some spiritual. And so I'm going to get a little bit of it too. And you come here with this idea. I come here because my parents think it's important and they're still paying the bills, and so I'm here. Or you're coming here, you're just trying to figure some things out. And what I want you to hear today is that what Jesus Christ wants from you is your life. He doesn't want you to simply kind of do a little bit better at stuff. Our life, our sin, the decisions that we're making, if we were honest, I'm wrecking my life, I'm wrecking my relationships, and I need something different. I don't need to be tweaked, I need to be demolished and rebuilt. And this is what Jesus says. If you'll admit that about your sin, that you're wrecking yourself and God, and you're damaging your relationship with God, and you'll ask God for forgiveness that comes through Jesus' death for you, then He'll give you forgiveness. And the Bible is full of this imagery that He will make things new. He will make you new. He will turn you into someone new. And when we realize we got to get to that point, some of us have to get to this point, that the old me is not working, and I need a new me. And that comes through an admitting of your sin, a confessing of that to God, forgiveness that comes in giving your life fully to Him. Not in following Jesus' advice, not in coming to church, not in being a relatively better person, but in giving your life fully to God through Jesus. And so if that's you, man, I would encourage you, man. Give some real heart and time to think about what it would really mean for you to fully give your life to Jesus. Now, for the rest of us, maybe we've been following Jesus. We've been doing this for a while. And it's really time for us to examine all of this a different way. We really have kind of gotten into this rut and this pattern of Jesus is kind of helping me. And I remember in my own life, I really do. It wasn't one moment where this guy in my freshman year comes up to me and tells me this, and that my life has completely changed in that moment. It was 2 years of wrestling. 2 years of just really trying to think, man, what would that really mean? Man, I've got dreams, I've got plans, I've got skills and talents and passions and pursuits, and there's expectations that I have, there's expectations that my parents have, there's all these things that my life is supposed to be. What would it really mean, God, if I were to just give all of that to you? If I were going to say, wherever you want me to go, I'll go. Whatever you want me to do, I'll do. Whoever you want me to be, I'll be. What would that really mean? It sounds risky. It sounds hard. It sounds like you're going to end up in a lot of places you don't want to be, doing things you don't want to do. It sounds scary and hard. But it's a decision over time that I really feel like that I made and try to continue to make every day. Deny myself. Let that me die every day and follow Jesus. And this happened for me 25 years ago, which is insane for me to talk about stories that happened 25 years ago. We'll sit around in our staff meetings sometimes and I'll tell stories like this. Yeah, it was me that happened 25 years ago. And somebody will giggle. I was 2. I was in first grade. Shut up, I hate you. So you do something like that. You say, I'm gonna be different. I'm going to be different. And 6 months later, you're like, how's it going? It's not 6 months, you can't know. A year, it's hard to tell sometimes. But when you've got 25 years of me just kind of saying, I'm going to choose to live my life differently, and I'm not going to ask God to just kind of help me, but I'm just going to kind of give him the car, give him the house, give him the plans, give him the keys, take all the chips, use your metaphor. After 25 years, man, we live in a world that is destroying itself. People full of anger and hatred and division and clinging to certain identities and clinging to certain ideas and believe that if I can just pursue this, or if we can just change this one thing, or if this one thing will happen, if this person will be president, if this person will be president, if these people will be in Congress, if this thing will happen, if this, everything will be fine. And everywhere I see anger and fear and destruction. What I'm telling you is that the life that God will give you in return, if instead of pursuing all of the things that the world tells you are the keys, but instead I'm just going to fully give my life to Jesus Christ, I promise you the life that you get in return will eclipse anything that you have ever experienced and really what you can even imagine. It's not that it's not hard. That's why he chose the metaphors he did. Taking up your cross isn't fun, and giving somebody else control, that's not awesome. Except that what you get in return is amazing. So really today, it's really just more of a kickoff. It's really more of just kind of putting some ideas in our head. A different way of thinking, a different kind of approach to maybe life, that over this next month, we're just going to kind of let some of these ideas sink in, see what God does with it. So I encourage you, man. There's prayer team is going to be back there. We'd love to pray with you. You can pray at the cross. There's prayer candles. There's communion, where you just take the bread and dip it into the cup. And you don't have to be a member, just a follower of Christ. You can do that. We have an opportunity to give. We've got some incredible worship songs. We have an opportunity to kind of declare our devotion to God. But let's just ask. Let's just start with this very simple question. If I were really going to give my life fully to you, God, what would that look like? And then let's just see over the next month what God does. Let me pray.